Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. FPL Consult here. Please let me know if you guys can hear me clearly. Again, using a little bit of a new mic. So if you can hear me, drop it down in the comments below or in the chat. Please just let me know if it's clear. But if not, welcome. Welcome to the Game Week 6 deadline stream. So much to talk about. So much to talk about. Is Raya gonna start? Are we gonna get leaks about Lewis? Lots of things. So hopefully we'll be able to get through all of you guys' questions as well. And even captaincy. Like honestly, captaincy between Saka and Haaland right now, it is close. It is close. So yeah, looking forward to a good stream. Let's say hi to some of you guys in the chat. Already 61 of you guys. Very nice to see you all. Please let me know where you guys are watching from as well. Always very cool to see where you guys are watching from. So let us start with saying hi to some of you guys. FPL Vasilios, nice to see you from Greece. Very cool. Mikdad, Scorch, FPL MFZ says you're late as usual. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I have to apologize. Unfortunately, I was a little bit late today. My bad for that. Daniela, good morning. Black and Red Gaming, hello from another Greek. Very nice. Joe says, Wildcard active, should I change Raya? That is going to be the big question. That is going to be the big question. Keith says, hey buddy, from a wet Sydney, looking forward to this week. Great content and good luck everyone. Thank you very much. And yeah, thank you for coming down from Sydney. Nice to see you. Raya wasn't even seen in Team Hotel, so I'll give you guys a bit of an update on Raya. Bazabita also from Greece. Lots of people from Greece today. Very nice to see you. Satyaki from India. We can hear you. Very nice. Thank you very much, Scotch. Vietnam, Tanzania, all very, very cool. Singapore, UK, nice to see all of you guys in the chat. Toby as well, a member, nice to see you. Alright, let's go Game Week 6, let's do it. There's already 110 of you guys. Quite crazy. I don't think we've ever started a stream with so many already. So if you haven't, please do drop a like and let's get on with it. So let me just start off with saying that, I mean, obviously I am on a wildcard, right? That is in the thumbnail of the video. But let me just go through a couple of the picks that I've gone for here. So I think talking through the main decision that I've made so far, it is to do Havertz in, and basically I've taken out Raya from my team. I actually had Raya for a really long time. Since the Game Week 5 deadline passed, I immediately activated my wild card. I brought Raya in because he was going to rise in price. And basically, I had him because he's at 5.6 now. Since I brought him in at 5.5, he rose to 5.6. And then I was thinking, should I take him out, take him out, or leave him in and risk it? So where I've landed, based on last night's transfers, is Havertz in and Raya out. So I think in terms of looking at, how likely Raya is to start, I think honestly speaking, like there's going to be loads of questions in the chat. Like I know it's going to come, but unfortunately there's not going to be any concrete news whatsoever. So I think there were a couple of random sources trying to say that they knew stuff, and it was just not reliable. So I didn't want to share anything that was not reliable with you guys. So for the time being still, like throughout the course of this stream, I will make sure to check on any Raya leaks. I have a couple of accounts that I identified on Twitter that seem to be reliable, and I have notifications turned on for these accounts. So the moment they tweet something about Raya, I will update you guys. Okay, but for my own team, like back to my own team, before I get to all of your questions, I've chosen to just go for Havertz here. I think there's enough upside in going for an attacker in Havertz, and take the gamble that he would outdo someone like Saliba, for example, if I went for Saliba in defense. Or even Raya, like say example I go for Raya. I think the big reason why he was getting a lot of save points sorry, the big reason why he was getting a lot of bonus points in the past few weeks was because he had to make quite a couple of saves in those games. Those were trickier games, like Tottenham, as well as Man City. So those teams were able to put up a good number of shots against Raya, in which he saved those shots and therefore got a lot of bonus points. So thinking about Leicester, Southampton, Bournemouth, I honestly doubt that they're going to get a lot of shots away at David Raya, even if he starts. And wait, I just saw a tweet. Give me a moment. Yeah, so even if wait, let me just, yeah, okay, I'll finish what I wanted to say. So basically, even if he starts, I don't think he gets a lot of bonus points. So thinking about it, it's 6 points throughout for the next 3 games for Raya, for example. There's 18 points. And then I compare to Saliba as well, probably 18 points throughout. I think about whether Havertz can get more than 18 points across the next 3 games. That is likely 1 goal, 1 assist. And then he's going to get about like 14 points already. So if he does that in one of the games, the rest of the 2 games are basically bonus for me. Like if he gets an attacking return, he outscores that defensive asset. And obviously by no means am I going to go with double Arsenal attack throughout. Once the fixtures get tricky, Havertz becomes Solanke. So that's the thinking behind Havertz. And then I'm leaving the door open to do either one of Verbruggen to Raya, if I do want to do that, or just stick with this keeper rotation with Flecken and Verbruggen, and then just do Trent to Saliba. So I'm leaving the door open for double Arsenal defense down the road, for sure. Because I think moving forward, that is still the way. And I'm trying to cater different routes to getting double Arsenal defense. Now, aside from that, I don't think the rest of the team has too much to speak about. In terms of the midfielders, Semenyo, Mbeumo, Luis Diaz, Saka and Rogers. I think pretty much most drafts have that. Up front, it's Chris Wood that I've chosen to go for instead of Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I think I back the Nottingham Forest attack a little bit more. Like, I know the fixtures are so good for Everton, but I'm not super confident of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, if I'm honest. And Chris Wood would very soon become either one of Cunha or João Pedro when the time is right. So that's the thinking behind the future plans I have. Flecken and Verbruggen, I've chosen Verbruggen here because I have enough money to go there, and I just want to make sure that if I do decide to go for Saliba in defense, that my keeper rotation is still good enough. Now, thinking behind Aina, the last player I'll talk about, is simply if I do need to start him in place of Rico Lewis, he's the defender that I'm most confident of in these kind of next few game weeks, this shorter time period. Further down the line, then obviously players like Mykolenko have a good, a better fixture run than Aina. But I honestly think like if I do have to play him in place of Lewis for the next few game weeks, I don't mind it. It is a good run of home fixtures. So it's Fulham at home. Chelsea away is not ideal, but then there's Crystal Palace at home, Leicester away, West Ham also at home, Newcastle also at home. Then game week 12 onwards is Arsenal, so then it gets tricky. So Aina is the one I've chosen to go for. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So let me know what you guys think of the draft. I would be keen to know. And already so many of you guys in the chat. Thank you all for coming down bright and early. Please do drop a like on the stream. Right, let me just skim through all the chats that you guys have sent in. Start Aina or Robinson. I would go for the home fixture, so I would start Aina. Am I from Singapore? Yes, I am from Singapore. Can't justify Trent on the wild card. I mean, I don't think it's necessary that you have to go for Trent on the wild card. If it's something you don't want to do, I don't mind it. It's just that for my own team, based on the transfers that I want to do moving forward, I think Trent being the most expensive defender just allows me to downgrade very easily after that. If I want to go for Saliba, I can go for Saliba. I also have plans actually that I'm looking at Pedro Porro and also at Diogo Dalot. So I am considering these players, and Trent down to these players is going to free up a lot of money, that's one, but it only will take me one transfer. DS captain. Right, we'll put up a captaincy poll in a bit. Start Rogers or Welbeck? Rogers. Already used transfers. Jota, Muniz out for Semenyo, Havertz. Yeah, that makes sense. Why Havertz over Solanke? I think there will be, I mean, based off of my own judgment of the fixtures moving forward, Solanke will have Manchester United away in game week 6, and in game week 7 he will have Brighton away. So 2 away games. Can Havertz with 2 home games outscore Solanke? And then is it worth a transfer later down the line to do Havertz to Solanke? So it's a good question. I could very well just start with Havertz, but I think there's upside to this. And also later on we'll see the kind of odds by Rob T FPL, where Arsenal are actually predicted to score the most goals this game week. So they are at 2.7 predicted goals this week, much higher than the other teams. Let me just pull up the tweet. Yeah, so I'll switch over to the graphic by Rob T. So, yeah, I mean, you see Arsenal 2.7 goals, Liverpool next at 2.45. So, I don't mind just taking a gamble on Havertz over Solanke and then making a transfer later down the line to do Havertz to Solanke. Alright, thank you Alfie for subscribing. If Raya doesn't play, should we punt on his replacement for 1 week? Cheers. Right, so I think in terms of the Raya situation, if you still want to go for Raya, the fact is that Flecken and Raya actually rotate well. So the only thing with that is that you will be spending a lot of money in defense. But if you actually have Raya as your starting keeper and then Flecken as the backup keeper, there's going to be at least 10 million in goal. But the rotation actually works really, really well. So let me just show it to you guys in a bit. Which is also actually why I'm leaving the door open to do Verbruggen to Raya. Because then I'll have Raya and Flecken for the long term. Which, I mean, it could be quite a bit of money, but the rotation just works so well. So I think it's something that you guys who are kind of, really fixed on wanting to go for Raya that you can consider. FPL rotation planner. Yep, so you look at the rotations, it's super good. So in game week 6, say for example Raya doesn't start, you have Flecken, then you have Southampton and Bournemouth for Arsenal, then you switch over to Brentford's good run of 3 fixtures, Ipswich, Fulham and Bournemouth, and you go back to Arsenal again, in which case you can actually start them for a good run from 12 all the way until 16. I don't see a reason why you need to bench them in any, to be honest. And yeah, even in game week 20 where they have Brighton, you have Southampton for Flecken. So I think it's just something that you have to think about, whether you're willing to just spend that extra money in goal. Personally, looking at the way that I am as an FPL manager, I'm quite risk averse in that if there is a slight chance that Raya is going to miss out, I'm just going to find different ways to cover him, Okay, so I've seen a couple of tweets that you guys, chats that you guys have posted that Andy Let's Talk FPL said something, so I'm going to check if he said anything. Alright, so let me just show this to you guys. Like, Andy, Let's Talk FPL just posted this, I think last night. So it's not looking good for Raya. David Raya was not spotted with the rest of the Arsenal squad at the team hotel this evening. So it's not great news for sure. But I don't want to speculate too much. Like at the end of the day, we know with Arteta, like he's super good with the mind games and there was a time I think there was another if I'm not wrong, it was Ben White or someone who just wasn't fit as well. They're not in any kind of team training photos, etc. And he appears in the starting 11. So, I mean, it's really up to, what you guys feel about whether Raya will start or not. My guess is we start making drafts with Flecken. Right. Right. There's a lot of you guys in the chat, so unfortunately I have to skip a couple of questions. So let's quickly try and get through them. Can you please explain to me the Luis Diaz pick? He averages 17 minutes per game, even when he scores double digits. Also difficult fixtures incoming. So I think the thinking behind Luis Diaz, for myself at least, is that I want him for Game Week 6 and Game Week 7. Wolves away, Crystal Palace away. Looked like fixtures that Liverpool could score quite a number of goals. In which case, the price point that he's at, 7.8, 7.9 million, I think now at 8 million already, he rose 2 times since the Game Week 5 deadline. He is going to be someone that's going to allow me to get to Bruno Fernandes very easily after that. So, I mean, he's currently only 0.3 million short of Bruno Fernandes. So it's 8 million. If I look at Bruno Fernandes, yeah, Fernandes is at 8.3. So he's a player that I'd want further down the line. Now, I know what people think about Bruno Fernandes, but when you look at the run that they have from 8 all the way till 13, you definitely want a piece of this. Like Brentford at home, West Ham away, Chelsea at home, Leicester at home, Ipswich away, Everton at home. Like this is when you would at least want, I would say one Manchester United asset. So I'm planning for Bruno Fernandes, and that's why Luis Diaz just allows me to get there quite easily. And I think in terms of further down the line as well, like when I look at this draft overall, like am I able to nail the different price points if I want to move from there? Like Havertz allows me to get to the kind of slightly more semi-premium-ish kind of forwards, whether it's, if Watkins pops off, can I get Watkins from Havertz? Like it's not too far away. Solanke is a downgrade. Chris Wood gives me a good price point to go to João Pedro. It's a downgrade. He also allows me to go to Cunha as well. Like Cunha I think is at 6.5 if I'm not wrong. So I kind of tried to make sure that I have different price points within each of the different categories of outfielders, so that I can make sure that I get to players with one transfer to kind of save transfers down the line. Is Palmer a good captain option? I mean, surely there are other better captain options this week. I wouldn't put Palmer as like even the top 3. Alright, I have to speed up on the chats. I apologize. Havertz for Jackson, what do you think? I don't think I would do Havertz out for Jackson. I'm just not so keen, honestly, on the Chelsea fixtures. Like I've seen a couple of drafts with Palmer, with Jackson. Like I'm just personally not super keen on them. Being a Chelsea fan, bearing in mind, because Brighton at home and Nottingham Forest at home, both these teams have been defending pretty well. So I don't see them as super easy fixtures. Like yes, the official FPL ticker has the color as green, but I honestly don't think that these are very easy fixtures for Chelsea. And then after that, I mean, the run is horrible. It's Liverpool away, Newcastle at home, Manchester United away, Arsenal at home. Just not a run that I would want Chelsea assets in. So that's why I haven't included any Chelsea assets in the team. let's remember that Odegaard out and Jesus fit, Havertz might not be playing up top. Yeah, I did consider this as well, and it is a fair point. I think the position of Havertz definitely kind of makes me think about whether he is worth the investment or just gambling on him for the first 3 game weeks of this fixture run. But I just think, I look at the positions he's taking up, he's not necessarily dropping super deep. It is still relatively kind of advanced, and I look at kind of the chances he's been getting in the past few games, whether it is in other games. Don't say the difficult ones that they just had where they parked the bus against Man City. Say the games that they played in the EFL Cup or in the Champions League. I still saw Havertz playing decently high enough. So in which case, I mean, it's Leicester, it's Southampton. I do expect them to score a couple of goals, and do I expect Havertz to be involved? I do. I do. VJ says, why not subscribe? Cost nothing. If you guys, there's close to 400 of you guys. We may be setting a record today. That's insane. For almost 400 of you guys, thank you all for tuning in, listening to me waffle about FPL. If you guys haven't subscribed, please do subscribe, and also drop a like on the stream. It really helps the channel. We are actually on the road to 10,000 subscribers. So hopefully we can get there soon. I'm still thinking what we should do for a 10,000 subscriber celebration. Maybe we should do a Q&A or giving away a couple of memberships. I don't know. We'll think about it when we get there. But if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe and help us get to 10,000 subscribers. Scott says, I'm going to be so heartbroken if Lewis is dropped after I hesitated to bring him in for each of the previous game weeks. So I think the thing with going for a pick like Lewis is you just have to be ready for it. Like, if you're not someone that can take the occasional benching, then I suggest you don't go for Lewis, because it's going to come. Like, even today against Newcastle, I'd say it's not guaranteed that he starts. And also, I look at the comments that Pep said during the press conference about how to fill the gap that Rodri has left. He just said there's so many players that could fill in that position. Lewis is not the only one. There's John Stones. Gundogan, also possible. So, I mean, he alluded to the fact that many players could play there, even a Kanji if he really has to. So I do think, like, by no means is Lewis going to be nailed. You just have to make sure that you cater for the cases where he's not going to start. In which case, I have Aina to come in. So just make sure that you have a good enough fourth defender. Thank you very much for the super chat, Ali. Let me get to the question. Double City defenders dropping trend. What do you think? That is actually a decent consideration, I have to say. Like, good shout there. But here's my thinking. You're probably going to do Vardiol, Enrico Lewis, and then Haaland. What I would say to that is, what if further down the line, you want Foden, or Savinho, or Kevin De Bruyne if he comes back? Then you probably have to make 2 transfers to remove one of Rico Lewis or Vardiol, and then make another transfer in midfield to bring your City attacker in. So I did have a look at double City defense. It's definitely worth looking at, but I'm not going for it just simply because I want to leave the door open for Foden and Kevin De Bruyne. Yeah, and even Savinho. I mean, Luis Diaz to Savinho is also a very possible move that I make further down the line. So, yeah, that's what I would say. By the way, guys, if I miss your question, like, I haven't really experienced this before. Like, there's so many of you guys in the chat. So if I miss your question, just type it in again. I'll get to it when I see it. Do you recommend starting Barnes or Emil Smith-Rowe this week? Smith-Rowe. We should put a couple of polls in the chat, yeah? Let me just see the percentage of you guys on a wildcard. is your wildcard active for game week 6? Excuse me. Yeah, let me know how many of you guys in the chat are on wildcards so that I can kind of, get a sensing. My assumption would be many of you guys. All right. Why don't you go for Muric instead of Verbruggen? He rotates very well with Flecken. Have a look. I've had a look. It's just simply that I don't think Ipswich is a defense I want to back. Like, I'd rather pay the extra 0.1 for Verbruggen because I back the Brighton defense a little bit more. And I also foresee that further down the line, Lewis Dunk is someone I might want if I don't have Verbruggen. Like, if I go for Muric in defense, later down the line, I'd want Lewis Dunk. Why not just go for Verbruggen already? And then I think about whether I want Saliba in place of Trent to get double defense for Arsenal and just keep my current keeper pairing. I'm on a wild card. Thoughts on whether I go for Jackson or Solanke, please? If you choose between Jackson or Solanke, I'd rather you go for Solanke because eventually Jackson will become Solanke. Like, you look at Chelsea's fixtures, that's just a move waiting to happen, so why not just go for Solanke from the get-go? I don't think I haven't gone for Solanke in a similar position like I have Havertz, but simply because I think the upside is there to just have Havertz for these 3 game weeks and then move to Solanke. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's just where I'm at the moment. What's my team value? Team value currently is, if I'm not wrong, I had a look just now, 101.4. Yeah, 101.4. You can't really see it on the screen, but it's 101.4 and 0.1 million in the bank. How long before the deadline? There's still quite a while to go, not to worry. There's still about 2 hours, 45 minutes. I'll try to see if I can stream all the way till the deadline this week, specifically because it's the wildcard week. Like, let me know in the comments below if you guys want me to stream all the way until the deadline. But I'll be honest, I don't think the team is going to change regardless of any leaks that we get. Like, even if Lewis doesn't start, he's still going to be in my team. I'd probably just do Aina in for Lewis. I still go with exactly the same setup. But let me know if you guys want me to stream all the way. Wood or Calvert-Lewin? I prefer Chris Wood. But I prefer Chris Wood, but that's only because I'm kind of not so hot on Calvert-Lewin as other people are, but I would also understand why. So I probably just lay out the facts for you that Calvert-Lewin is nailed for more minutes, I'd say, than Chris Wood. Like, Chris Wood technically gets about 60 to 70 minutes and then he comes off for Awoniyi. Calvert-Lewin wise, he's probably going to get 90 minutes. We've seen that in the last 2 games at least. And also similarly, like Chris Wood, he's on penalties. It's just a question for me of whether I'd rather back the Nottingham Forest attack or the Everton attack. So that's where I'm at. VJ, thank you so much for helping to plug the channel. Really appreciate it. If you guys haven't already, please do drop a like. We are definitely setting a record today. Like, thank you everyone who is watching right now. We are at 489 viewers, so I don't think we have ever hit this milestone. So thank you all so much for just supporting the channel, like even watching my content. I really appreciate it. Vincent says, not sure how I feel taking a -8 to a 3-5-2 but later to a 4-5-1 as João Pedro is flagged. The squad doesn't look good going through another game week on a 4-5-1. So a -8 wise, I would really only take it if I intend to just not do any major changes to my team moving forward. Like, for example, I don't think if I was going to wildcard in game week 7, for example, that I would take a -8 this week. I just make sure that those are long-term moves and I won't be like wildcarding anytime soon, in which case the -8 has a longer time period to pay off, then it could be worth it. Pretty confident Lewis will start. I do hope so. I do hope so. How would you line up today? Exactly as in on the screen right now. The only question is whether I start Aina or Rico Lewis if Rico Lewis does not start. So we'll see. We'll see. How do you get Foden further down the line? Luis Diaz for Foden. Saka, I'm not going to rule out Saka to Foden as well. Like, you guys may think that could be a bit crazy. But when the tougher fixtures for Saka comes around, like, could I do without Saka? And if Odegaard is still out, could I do without Saka? I think it's possible. So, a couple of options that I could get there. Thank you for the super chat. Reshi, thoughts on Konza? So I don't mind Konza. What I would say is the fixtures and when you would need to play Konza. That would decide, how good Konza is for me as a fourth defender, for example. Like, because there's Manchester United in game week 7, Fulham away, alright, Bournemouth, okay. But from this game week 10 onwards, it's Spurs, Liverpool, and then there's Chelsea in the next 4 from here. So I just think if you do need that defender to play for you in the kind of shorter term period, then I do think an Aston Villa defender is probably not where I'd go with. So it really depends how you intend to rotate your fourth defender with the existing 3 defenders that you have in your squad already. That's where I would look. So, but him as a pick, as an option, perfectly fine. It's more about rotations. Thank you very much, VJ, for the donation. Really appreciate it. Every week you make a donation. I really appreciate it. FPL Diamond says, spoke to FPL Tom today, said he would be down to doing a collaboration with you sometime. Yeah, why not? Why not? I'd be down. Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Rodgers, who to start? Calvert-Lewin. Do you prefer Ndai, Robertson, or Saka, Wood, and Trent? It has to be the second option. Am I missing something? Why are no wildcard teams having Palmer in fixture proof and no Europe? Is he really fixture proof though? Like the fixture, surely there's a better fixture run that you can find for a kind of a premium midfielder. Tom, thank you very much for the super chat. Is Savio an option? I think he is. Like, speaking about Savio and Rico Lewis as options outside of Haaland for Man City, I do think like there would be too much risk, in all honesty, like if we go for Savio and Rico Lewis. So in my position here, in my squad, I've just chosen to go for one kind of risky asset in Rico Lewis, because I don't really like having, another 2 players that I have to think about week in, week out, whether he's going to start. If I just leave it to one, in which case it's Rico Lewis, I can mitigate the downside by having Aina just ready for him. But say, for example, I have Savinho in midfield as well. I need to kind of think about, when are the weeks that I'm going to get leaks. There's 2 players already out of the, starting 11. There's a significant, percentage of the players in my starting 11 that I'm worried about. In which case, I would just personally think it's too risky. So because of that, I'll be honest, I did have Lewis, Savinho, and Haaland in the draft. But then I took him out, knowing that there will be quite a bit of risk. But I'm not going to rule out the possibility that Savinho becomes an option, which is why I say I leave the door open for another City player further down the line. Alright, there's 500 of you guys already. So it's definitely a record today. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Appreciate it. Where are you from? I am from Singapore. I am from Singapore. I like Rogers over Wood to start. But it's the home fixture though. It's the home fixture for Chris Wood. Flecken or Sells? Flecken. Longer term Flecken. $100 likes achieved. Thank you all so much for liking the stream. Really appreciate that. Alright, please don't spam the chat as well. I probably just put a couple I'll put you in timeout for a while, just very quickly. Just please don't spam the chat. Thank you very much. Who is the best of Manchester City defenders? For me, it's between Vardiol and Rico Lewis. If I want a more stable and secure pick, then it's Vardiol. If you're willing to take the risk, then Rico Lewis. But what I would say is that I don't think the additional money for Vardiol is going to translate to returns. Yes, he's going to start more games. I do think that will be the case. But I think the cap for Vardiol is also coming to around 6 points-ish now because of the positions that he's taking up. And it's not necessary that if Lewis doesn't play and Vardiol plays, that Vardiol is the one that's going to, invert. Because I think there could be a situation where John Stones is playing the Rico Lewis role. I say Rico Lewis role, but John Stones is the one playing in midfield, inverting. And then Vardiol is still playing as a left-sided centre-back. So I just say that I'd be wary of paying 6 million for someone who may not be as attacking. But then when you have him in your Game Week 6 team, I don't see a week where you will want to take him out as well, because if he starts consistently, you still want to have him. It'll just be a case where you're stuck with a kind of a six point ceiling player. So that's why I think I just bank the extra, I think 1.3, like Lewis is 1.3 cheaper. Get the extra money, spend it elsewhere, and then take a gamble on Lewis. Is no Raya a lock for you? Yes. I mean, even if Raya is fit today, and he's in the starting 11, or if any of the injuries did not happen for Raya, I would still probably stick with this squad, because I've come round to the idea that I don't mind having Arsenal defenders later down the road. I know that double Arsenal defense is just something we would all hop on at some point in time. I'm just okay to just hop on a little bit later. Why Havertz Jackson is better? I prefer Havertz. Why no Palmer? Don't really like the fixtures. Is Semenyo a must? I wouldn't say he's a must. I won't say he's a must because, to be honest, from game week 8 onwards, 8 to 10 is tricky. It's Arsenal, Villa and City. So I really only am going to use him in game week 6 and game week 7. And then I bench him for 8, 9, 10. And then from 11 onwards, it's really good. From 11 onwards, it's truly incredible. All the way until 20, game week 20. So that's why I think if I go for Semenyo now, he's not a player that I intend to, just have for 2 game weeks and then just remove. Initially, that was going to be the case. And then I was thinking, if I only have Semenyo for 2 game weeks, why don't I just sell him now and just bring in a player I can keep for a longer period of time? But then I saw the fixtures and I looked at a couple of rotations, and I'm coming around to the idea that Semenyo is not a player I would sell even in 2 game weeks time. I can keep him and rotate him with Rogers. So that's where I'm at this point. Should I start Calvert-Lewin over Solanke? Nah, Solanke. Savio or Gundogan? If I have to choose one, Savio. Son to Saka for a -4. If you're not on a wild card, possibly. I mean, there's concerns about Son, right? There's concerns about his fatigue and etc. that he complained about. When are you playing Verbruggen? I'm playing Verbruggen from game week 12. Had a look at it. Game week 12 is when they finish their kind of tricky fixture run. So Chelsea away, Spurs at home, Newcastle away, Wolves, Liverpool, Man City. So a very tough run for them. But then from game week 12 onwards, all the way until game week 18, it's a good run. So that is when Flecken drops to the bench, and that is when Verbruggen comes in. So I think in terms of other ways that you could go about covering this rotation, I've seen a couple of drafts have Lewis Dunk as well in preparation for that. My only thought about going for that kind of a combination is that then my fourth defender is not very good. Like say for example, I drop Verbruggen down to a 4.0, say it's Fabianski. And then I do Aina out for Dunk. And Lewis doesn't start. I have to play Dunk against a less than ideal fixture. So in that case, I wouldn't be too confident about playing Dunk. So I want to have Verbruggen so that I still am able to capture those future fixture rotations, but it's just that he's on the bench for now. I will have to spend a bit more money on him, but I think it's worth it, like with the rotations later on. Right, there's 600 of you guys in the chat today. Thank you all so much for tuning in and watching my content. Like I'll take this opportunity because we've never had so many people in on a live stream so far on this channel. So I'll take this chance to just thank all of you guys for the support so far. It's been truly incredible. And yeah, I never imagined that when I started the channel 3 years ago that this is where we'd be at. So thank you all for the comments, the likes, watching the videos. Honestly, I'm really grateful for all of it. So thank you very much. Okay. FPL Vasilio says, Leon, pray that Rogers blanks next game week. You mean this game week? He's first on my bench. I need him next week in place of Wood. Yeah, I mean, I do hope that that's the case. Like, that is honestly, my worry, that Rogers does well and he's sitting on my bench. But I think that's also the kind of, that's the thing about having a slightly stronger bench depth, in that you will have to be alright to bench a couple of points here and there. So I think it's just a case where if he really just pops off, I just have to take it on the chin, Finland here, very nice. Very nice to see all of you guys. Always very interested to know where you guys are watching from. Personally, would go Watkins over Havertz. Yeah, I mean, if you have the money, fair enough. But Watkins is just a player that for now I don't have, simply because he's getting 60-70 minutes and sharing minutes with Duran. In which case, I don't think it's going to be very sustainable for him to get returns every single game week, as compared to someone who's getting close to 90 minutes every game, like Havertz. Why do you have Verbruggen for future rotations? Ricardo says, I have been to Singapore, best country in the world. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed your time in Singapore. The food is what we're known for, so I hope you tried all the food that we have, especially in the hawker stalls. I actually recommend the hawker stalls ahead of the restaurants. I mean, I think we do have decent restaurants, but the hawker stalls are where the good food is. I'll go captain is Saka. I'll go captain is Saka, but I'm not captaining Saka this week. I have it on Haaland. Will Palmer be a good differential? I think yes, but the thing is, I have him for game week 6 and 7, and then I want to sell him after that because the fixtures get tricky. No Rodri means Gundogan is an option. I think not necessarily. Not necessarily. What time is the Man City League? Nowhere near. Like, honestly, nowhere near. Still a while to go. Wood or Calvert-Lewin and why? I'm currently on Wood. And I know Calvert-Lewin gets more minutes, better minutes, but I back the Forest attack more than I back the Everton attack. Have you considered going for Raya instead? I did have Raya. As of, two days ago, I still had Raya. But I've just decided that I don't want to take the risk and I go for the Flecken and Verbruggen keeper combination here. And then go for double defense later on. Right, give me a moment. All right. Could Vardy be the move? His fixtures are great. If it's between Vardy and Calvert-Lewin, I'm on Vardy. Love your content from Malaysia. Just could not find any friend to play FPL. But thank you very much. Thank you for supporting the channel. Double Arsenal defense plus Eze or Luis Diaz plus 1 Arsenal defense plus Rico Lewis. Like, I've seen a couple of drafts with Eze. I don't mind him. So double Arsenal defense plus Eze versus Luis Diaz and 1 Arsenal defender and Rico Lewis. I'll go for the second option. Okay, apologies. Just had to settle something. All right. When Iana will play, he's playing later today, if I'm not wrong. 3 p.m. kickoff. What do you think about Jamie Vardy? I don't mind. It's just I prefer Calvert-Lewin over Jamie Vardy. I prefer Chris Wood over Jamie Vardy. Repent Master says, thanks, you deserve it. Thank you very, very much. Thanks for the excellent content. Thank you all so much. What do you think of Konate? I think it's not worth the risk, I'd say. Like, it's not that I think Kwanzaa is going to come in anytime soon, but for 4.5, and you look at the fixtures that they have from game week 8 onwards, I don't think you would want Liverpool defenders, let alone a 4.5 that doesn't have as much upside as someone like Trent who's super attacking. So I don't think Konate is someone I'd go for. If you did a game week 8 wildcard, how different would your team be? Great question. If I did a game week 8 wildcard, there's a couple of things I'd do differently. In that I would have less Arsenal players. I'd actually maybe not even have any attackers. which could sound crazy, like I completely understand. But from game week 8, there's always a possibility you could go without the Arsenal players for their tough fixture run. And then get a hop on a couple of other players. Like if Foden becomes an option, why not? If Savio is someone that has started consistently, why not? Right? And there's also a couple of other fixture swings. I haven't actually taken a look closer into the other ones, but I know for Arsenal, I would have less of their attacking assets, and then I'd have double defense still. So that would be likely the difference I make. Seeing Raya injured every draft was triggering finally some alternatives. Yeah, I mean, honestly speaking, before Raya got injured, everyone was having the same teams. And then, after his injury, people started panicking. Do I go for Saliba? Do I go for Havertz? Do I drop the Arsenal double defense and go for someone else? Like, loads of options popped up just because Raya seems to be missing out. So yeah. I honestly like it that there's a reason to go slightly different. Like I don't really like it when everyone is just going for the same team. Like that's quite boring. Won't Foden eventually start over Savio? I think that one kind of actually depends how long Kevin De Bruyne is out. If Kevin De Bruyne is out for quite a period of time, I foresee Foden getting a run through the middle where he played last season. So, yeah, it really depends. Thank you very much for the super chat, Akil. Mitoma to Semenyo for a -4. Already have Mbumo and Diaz. Would I take that -4? I actually wouldn't. Like, I would keep Mitoma. I don't think it's Semenyo against Southampton. Like, I do think Semenyo will do well, but is it worth the -4 and the potential of Mitoma returning against Chelsea away? Guess it really depends how long you'll have this move for, but you bring Semenyo in now for a hit, you have him for 2 game weeks, later down the line from game week 8 onwards, you also won't want to start him. So that's what I think about. Tried the Singapore sling too many times. Thoughts on bringing in Neto or Flecken for Fabianski? Is it worth to use one of 2 free transfers for this? Nah. I wouldn't. Who do you play in goal, Sells or Sanchez? For this week, Nottingham Forest has Fulham. Sanchez has Brighton. I'll probably go Sells. 150 likes. Have we hit 150 likes? It's 182 likes. Thank you all so much. Thank you all for dropping a like on the stream. We are honestly setting records today. Like, thank you all for tuning in. Hamadian says, thanks for the wildcard idea. Very interesting. I still owe you Misiam, by the way. Awesome stuff. Poro or Mazraoui? I'd say Poro. I actually do have at the back of my mind a couple of players. So Poro is one I'm thinking about, and also Dalo. So if I choose to go for Raya in place of a Bruggen later down the road, I would also be able to do Trent to Poro or Trent to Dalo. Like, those are possible moves I could go for. Thank you very much, Akil. Appreciate that. Are you a full-time YouTuber? Nah, I'm not. This is just my hobby. I have a day job, so I do have to record videos like late at night, but it's worth it. It's worth it. Like, I love interacting with you guys, and I just love making content. So. Thoughts on Mbumo captaincy? Probably wouldn't do it this week. I'm sure there are other weeks that maybe we might consider. Actually, what am I talking about? Like Haaland, with the fixtures that they have moving forward after this Newcastle game, actually I can't see captaining Mbeumo. Differential wise, maybe not. Maybe differential wise. How would you rotate Aina? Alright, so for Aina, it's really a thinking of the shorter term options. Like I'm really thinking about if I need to start Aina in place of Lewis, would I be okay with it? And I would. So that's why Aina is here in the draft. But yeah, I mean, it really depends on excuse me. It depends on your own team. Depends on your own team. When do you need this fourth defender? Like if I need it for the shorter term here, which is in the next few game weeks, if Rico Lewis misses out, I want to be able to start Aina, then I'm going for the fixtures that he has. But if you need a defender to rotate only like later down the line, then even Lewis Dunk is a possibility. Like if you really don't need this defender to start at all. Is Raya going to play versus Leicester? Don't really know. Arsenal will go mad and score 3 to 4 goals today. I do hope so. I do hope so. Why not Ruben Diaz instead of Vard? Throat is itchy. Why not Ruben Diaz instead of Vardiol? He's cheaper and is nailed. Thing with Ruben Diaz is I don't know if he's gonna start every single week. Like I seen a couple of games last season where he started like almost every other game, and then all of a sudden he's benched like for the next, I don't know, 2. So there's always a risk there, I think, and I'm not too keen on taking the risk for Ruben Diaz. Throat is itchy today. Ali Mac says, hi Leon, Robertson or Vardiol? Vardiol. Gabriel or Robbo or Trent for game week 6? Tricky. I say Gabriel. I say if I have to rank these 3, I say Gabriel, Trent, and then Robertson. In terms of like who is most nailed in the team. Not doing Wildcard, but want to sell Bruno. Who should I get? Luis Diaz? Depends how long you need this option for. Like short term, Luis Diaz. If you're gonna Wildcard, say game week 7, I don't mind Luis Diaz. Sam says, great content. Thank you very much. What are your thoughts on Ahmad as a possible rotation? I mean, I know Ahmad has been starting a couple of games, but I always think about when Garnacho is going to start. When it's going to be Rashford, Garnacho, and up front, whether it's Xerxes or whether it's Højlund. Like, I always wonder when that's going to happen and when Ahmad is going to be dropped. So that's at least what I'm thinking about. So I'm not super keen on Ahmad. Hey Leon, what do you do Salah and Minte to Saka and Diaz for a -4? Salah has Wolves though. Minte... Nah, I probably wouldn't. I'll probably do Minte to Semenyo for free, like if you could, and don't make 2 changes. Keep Salah. Go without Saka for 1 game week. Just want to know why Salah out. Salah's out of my draft because I think the other players that I have will be able to cover him. I have Luis Diaz here, and then in terms of spreading the funds around, I'm able to get a more balanced squad overall. So that's what I've done here, and I've tried to fit Salah in. Like I've seen a couple of drafts able to fit Salah in, but usually that is at the expense of Saka, which I don't really want. So I've gone with a no Salah draft here. What percentage of chance do you think Raya starts? Like honestly, it's hard to call this one, but I think likelihood is he doesn't. If not Raya, then who is the Arsenal goalkeeper? Neto. Thoughts on going Gabriel and Saliba? Yeah, perfectly fine. Thank you very much, BJ, for the donation again. Thoughts on Palmer, Jota, Watkins for Semenyo, Savino, and Haaland, or go without Haaland for one more week? In all honesty, like if you've gone so long without Haaland, I think you do it for one more game week. Like I know it could sound crazy, but you know this is the week that I think you could try, because in game I would assume as well, right, that those of you who have been holding out for no Haaland all the way, you're gonna jump onto him from game week 7 onwards. Now of course that's different. Like the case that I'm speaking about is really if you intend to wildcard in game week 7 and then bring Haaland in and keep him for the rest of the season, for example. But if you have already used your wildcard and say you don't have Haaland and then you want to bring him in now in game week 6 to keep for the long term, then I don't mind it. Who do you support in the Premier League? I support Chelsea. Has not been good in past seasons, but this season is looking pretty alright. So hopefully we can go for a decent finish this season. Do you reckon Raya starts? I'll play 10 players if he's out for game week 6. I hope he's back for game week 7. Like if I'm honest, I honestly don't think he'll start, but you know it's guesswork right now. It's guesswork. $200 likes achieved. Have we got there? Yes, we have. We have hit 224 likes. Thank you all so much for dropping likes on the stream. Really appreciate that one. Havertz will probably play not as a striker. Like the thing with Havertz's positioning is that, like, okay, obviously Gabriel Jesus exists as well and he could come in like later on in the game, but despite like whether Trossard is up front or whether you have Gabriel Jesus up front, I still think that Havertz is decently advanced, and in which case I also do think, like, you know, he will get returns there. So that's really the thinking behind him. Why Aina and not Robinson? Because I want to start Aina, or at least I want to have a decent enough fourth option on the bench in place of Lewis, because I think the highest risks for Lewis is these couple of game weeks where I don't really know if he's going to start, and if he doesn't, then I want to start Aina instead. So shorter term, I prefer the Nottingham Forest fixture, so that's why I have Aina here. Thank you for the super chat, Ali. Alright, let's speed through the questions now. Let's speed through some of the questions. Should I transfer Jota for DS or just bank a transfer? Bank a transfer. Ricky says, if I go with the Solanke draft, then should I bench him this week and start Rodgers instead? No. If you go with the Solanke draft, I'd probably start Solanke. yet you have no Chelsea players in your team. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, FPL and the team that you support is the way I play it is slightly different in that I'm all right to go without the team that I support, because from an FPL standpoint, if moving forward they're going to have tricky fixtures, I don't mind not having them. You know, and that is honestly what I think. Like, they have, in game week 6 now, they have Brighton. In game week 7, they're going to have, if I'm not wrong, it's Nottingham Forest. So, I mean, those could seem like easier fixtures, but from game week 8 onwards, their fixture run really does start to get tricky. I would love to be in a situation where I have Chelsea players and I can root for them in my FPL team. That would be ideal. Like when I was playing a couple of seasons ago with like Hazard in FPL, like that was just a different time. Like that was ideal. Will you do Arsenal assets to Chelsea in game week 8 or 9? No, definitely not. I would do Arsenal assets. Now, I wouldn't sell my Arsenal assets. What I do is I'd sell the Liverpool assets. I sell them to Manchester United assets. That's what I would do in game week 8. Greetings. Thinking of -4 Isak to Havertz, what do you suggest? Yeah, I mean, Isak is probably out, so I guess a hit is probably what I do. Saka captain over Haaland? Yeah, why not? Okay, so there's 65% of you guys with your wildcards active, alright? So at least it gives me a sensing. Thank you for voting. Let's do another poll, and this time we do captaincy. So I'm gonna do game week 6 captaincy poll. So we're gonna have Haaland, Saka, Salah, or other. Let me know in the poll who you guys are captaining. I'm gonna make a early call and say that it's gonna be quite split between Saka and Salah, and then Haaland is probably still gonna be the first choice. Is Alisson starting? Yes, it seems like he's back in training, so I do think he'll start. Ideal captain this week. It's between Saka, Haaland, and Salah for me. Like if you're looking for ideal captains. Why Aina and not a Brentford defender? Because I prefer to have a Nottingham. I already have the Flecken pick in defense covering the Brentford fixtures, so I don't want to double up on Brentford defense, and I don't mind starting Nottingham Forest for the shorter term fixtures. Bench 1, Savinho, Mbumo, Rogers, Semenyo, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I want to say Rogers, but I have Rogers on the bench, but I know he could do damage there. I know he could do damage. Show me your next week plan. Alright, let me move over to the transfer planner, and I'm going to show you guys my future transfer plans. Plan FPL. Show you a couple of variations that I have. May or may not end up going with them, but at least transfers that I'm thinking about doing. Alright, so let's head over to Plan FPL. Let me just fix the team. This is Verbruggen. Yep, so ignore the team value. Ignore the team value because the price changes have obviously happened, but I've already had these players in my team, so I'm able to afford them. So game week 6, this is likely how I'm going to line up. It's really a question of whether I need to start Aina instead of Lewis. Come game week 7, not going to make many changes at all. I'm still going to have majority of these players. The only difference is I probably drop Chris Wood down to Rogers. So he comes in because Wood has Chelsea away. So that's for game week 7. Game week 8 wise, you see a couple of transfers have already been made in that I've taken out Trent as well as Bruno for Dalot and Bruno Fernandes. Sorry, I've taken out Diaz and I've also taken out Trent for Dalot and Bruno Fernandes, yes. So those are kind of one alternative that I'm looking at. If I reverse the moves and I go for Trent and Luis Diaz here again, one of the other things that I'm considering is double Arsenal defense, as I said just now. So this already allows me to, I mean, this is obviously later down the line when I have sold Havertz to Solanke. Right, so Havertz to Solanke and then Trent to Saliba. So that is one variation that I'm thinking about. Either way, Solanke in for Havertz will be happening. It's just a question of when. So with that in mind, I will definitely have the third Arsenal spot open. If I choose not to do Saliba in defense, then I think if I still want the third Arsenal asset, a double Arsenal defense, I would go for Verbruggen out and I'd go for Raya here. This is assuming he's back already. Then I just start Raya instead. So I'm not saying I'm going to do all of these moves in game week 8, but I'm using this particular game week to show you guys a couple of variations that I'm thinking about. So that is for Raya, right? So if I think that he's the one I want to go for, right, then this is likely what I do. And then, of course, in midfield, instead of Luis Diaz, I'm also looking at Bruno Fernandes in game week 8. So in this particular game week, right, if I want to bring Bruno Fernandes in, I definitely have to drop Trent down as well, considering the upgrades elsewhere. So Trent could become Dalot, could become Porro. All the kind of different players that I'm thinking about center around the Luis Diaz and Trent spot, as well as the second keeper option. So for game week, back to game week 6 again, that's where I've kind of tried to nail down as many of the different price points that I have so that I can get to the players I want. So in terms of kind of future planning, it could be a bit all over the place right now. But as we're kind of trying to make a wild card in game week 6 now, I try to leave all the options open for, you know, future game weeks. All right. Captaincy poll wise, 65% Haaland. So many of you guys captaining Haaland this week. I mean, I do assume he will be the standout captain. It's just a question of whether you guys want to go differential or not. Why Rico Lewis? I want to take the gamble with Rico Lewis. Simple as that. I think the upside is there for him. Is Calafiori a good buy? If I don't have the money for Gabriel, he might not play. If you don't have the money, I wouldn't go Calafiori. Like, there's too much risk involved there. Thoughts on captaining Watkins over Saka? Probably not. Probably not. Thoughts on Diaz captain? Probably wouldn't. It has to be the top 3 for me, to be honest. If I was to go different though, I would consider... If I was to go different, if I don't captain Salah, Haaland and Saka, maybe Diaz or maybe Watkins. But it's really not where I go. Like this week, I just take the safer option. The differential captains, or when I would actually consider differential captains, is when players like Haaland, for example, or Salah have difficult fixtures. Like this week is pretty clear cut. Like even Saka has Leicester, so it's pretty clear cut this week. Is there any need for a solid 4.5 defender if I have Trent, Gabriel and Saliba, or is it viable to have Greaves and Wout? This is a great question. I think if you have Trent, Gabriel and Saliba, I would actually go so far as to be alright with two 4.0 million defenders. Like, I've seen a couple of drafts that have this combination, and I think it's alright. Because you would be starting the two Arsenal defenders every week anyway, and then you have Trent there. So I just make sure that the two 4.0 million defenders are specifically Wout as well as Greaves, because both of them have decent fixtures moving forward. So in the kind of worst case scenario that you need to start them, it is not the worst thing in the world. I want to captain Saka, but I have doubts about his minutes. I don't think we need to worry about his minutes, to be honest. I'm not so worried about Saka's minutes. Why are you gulping so loud? Can you guys hear? I mean, the mic is below me, so I could turn down the gain. You're starting Wood over Ola Aina? Yes, I am. So much hype to wildcard this game week. I mean, the window is just so good. Like, there's such a good window to wildcard now that, you know, it's obviously team dependent, but I think a lot of the teams that were doing decently enough leading up to game week 6 were kind of reaching a point where your team was at its, I would say, limit. Like, the fixtures are starting to get bad for a lot of players. So that's why it was such a popular game week 6 wildcard window. But again, it's fully team dependent. Like, I know you guys don't really want to hear team dependent, but yeah, it's just, unfortunately, game week 7 wildcard is perfectly viable for some teams. Game week 8 wildcard also possible. Alright, so I think something we haven't done on the stream is to have a look at a couple of your drafts. So that's what we're going to do now. I'm going to head over to Twitter, just take a look very quickly at a couple of drafts, and just share a bit of my thoughts on it. Alright. So if you guys want your drafts rated, just drop your drafts into the tweet that is here. So it's pinned on my Twitter account. So I'm going live for the Game Week 6 deadline. Drop your wildcard drafts below, and let's have a look at them. So Keith here, KKJJ92, right? So it's Edison in goal. I think an interesting draft to discuss here because I've seen this, but again, my thoughts around having triple City defined in your team already and having Edison as the keeper. Like, if you say, for example, want to go for Foden down the line, I think it might be tricky. You need to make a couple of transfers, and then after that, it also closes the door to your other City assets like Savinho and Kevin De Bruyne, for example. So kind of similar point is to say that you are locking in your third City spot, so you need to make a couple of transfers to deal with that. Aside from that, I think it's pretty much the standard picks. So, and also choosing to go for triple Arsenal here in double attack, so fair enough. Let me just check if there's a couple of leaks coming in. Nah, not yet. I thought we were going to get leaks this early, but it's too early. Alright, so Dylan's draft. Flecken, Robertson, Darlow, Gabriel, Semenyo, Luis Diaz, Mbumo, Saka, and then Wood, Haaland and Watkins. So I've chosen not to go for triple Arsenal. I mean, fair enough. Again, I say it's not compulsory, like it's not something you have to do. And you have Watkins in place of Havertz here. I don't mind it. Is the Darlow pick here that I'm thinking, could you go for someone else before jumping onto Darlow? Like, I like Darlow's fixtures from game week 8 onwards, but now he has Tottenham, and then game week 7 he has Aston Villa. So it gets tricky. aside from that, I think it's pretty much the midfield is standard. You just haven't gone for Rogers, so it's a pretty thin kind of 8th attacker in Dibbling. But yeah, if not, the rest pretty standard. Alright, a couple of you guys sending in your drafts as well. If you haven't already, just drop your drafts in the chat. On the tweet. Head to Wildcard in Game Week 3. So you're having free transfers now. How many free transfers do you have this week? I need to know how many free transfers you have, and then we can recommend a couple of moves. Alejandro Garnacho. This is your wildcard draft. Is this your wildcard draft or... Nah, this is not your wildcard draft. But in terms of the team and how it looks, I think you have decent enough fixtures, like in all honesty. I'd probably start Flecken over Sanchez though, for this team. I'd probably start Flecken over Sanchez. Ayush says, any transfer suggestions, 0.1 million on the bench. Who to start, Ahmad or Carvalho or Robinson? Right, so transfer suggestions wise, front 3 is fine. Midfield 4, Aina, Trent, Robinson, Konza, and Gabriel. The defense is alright as well. I think it's really the midfield if you want to make a couple of midfield transfers, but your budget is pretty tight as well. So, I think you could just go with these players, to be honest. I don't see having enough money to stretch to even like a Semenyo, for example. I'll probably just go with this squad. Right, so who to bench? Sorry, who to bench? I'll probably bench Ahmad or Carvalho. Maybe Carvalho, because Brentford's attack right now, I mean, I don't see it that Carvalho needs to start every single game week for them. Like, they do have alternatives, so I don't think Carvalho is secure for minutes. And I actually still think Ahmad starts this week. Like, I just have it at the back of my mind. When is Ahmad going to be dropped for Garnacho? It is something I'm thinking about. But in terms of who to bench, I'd probably bench Carvalho. Defenders-wise, I choose 2 to bench, which is probably Aina and Robinson. I start Trent, Gabriel, and Konza. And then you start Raya, of course. Okay, couple of drafts coming in. We'll do this for maybe at the next 5 minutes or so before we end the stream. Let me just see if you guys are sending anything in the chat. Trossard as a differential captain, probably wouldn't go there. Would you start Rico Lewis or Zabani? Rico Lewis. Flecken will get the clean sheet today, I hope so. Chewy FPL, good luck this game week, good luck to you too. Darwin Nunes, how do you send the team? Go to the Twitter and then find the pinned tweet. Rogers or Semenyo on a wild card? I try to have both, to be honest, but if you only want to choose one, maybe Rogers, you know. For the longer term, I'd say Rogers. I mean, bear in mind as well, like when you would need to use this 5.2 to 5.6 kind of option. If it's a game week where you need them in the shorter period now from, say, now to game week 10, Semenyo's fixtures are actually quite tricky after these 2 game weeks. So you don't really have a lot of game weeks to use Semenyo in. Raya's not traveled. Yeah, he's not with the team hotel. All right. We'll get to a couple of your drafts, and then we might end the stream in a bit. FPL Bamba says, can't take minutes Rick, so I'm going a bit different from all templates. Defense looks great. Midfield is fine as well. Yeah, I mean, these are pretty much very secure and safe picks as you've mentioned, so fair enough. The Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest rotation, again, very interesting. I think it works too. It's just, yeah, I mean, it's just whether you want to go for a rotation like this or you want, say, Flecken and Verbruggen, for example, they've gone with. But this works well too. In defense, on the bench, it's Greaves, Mazraoui, and McNeil. I actually really like the Mazraoui pick, because he comes in very nicely for you from game weeks 8 onwards. So I like it. Decent draft. I'll probably give it like a 7. One free transfer, 0.9 million in the bank. Minte up to Semenyo. Minte to Semenyo is probably what I do. And gamble that Raya starts. I think Minte to Semenyo has a higher upside than doing Raya to, say, for example, Flecken. So that's what I do. Right, so a wildcard draft here from Ryan. Flecken, Fabianski, Gabriel, Lewis, Trent, Mikalenko, and Greaves. Midfield, and then up front. Yeah, I mean, I can't really criticize this draft. Like, the only thing here is that it doesn't have triple Arsenal. But again, I say it's not compulsory. Like, triple Arsenal is not necessary on a game week 6 wildcard. But I do think at least from game weeks 12 onwards, you need to have triple Arsenal. So something I would have at the back of my mind. Okay, let's go back to the team. So I'll be ending the stream in about, I'd say, 10 minutes time. So if you guys have any questions, drop it in the chat. If I didn't manage to answer them, I try to get to your questions. There's 273 of you guys still here, so thank you all for sticking around. We got a couple more minutes to go before we end the stream. Reich says, hope you're well. Have Haaland and Saka. Which would you choose? Solanke, Wood, and Robbo? Or Solanke, Wood, Robbo, and Palmer, or Solanke, Watkins, Robbo, and Diaz. So it's between Wood and Palmer, or Watkins and Diaz. Watkins and Diaz for me. Yeah, Watkins and Diaz for me. Alisson in for Raya. Nah, probably not. The fixtures for Liverpool not super ideal. Already taken a -8. Is it worth to take Raya out? Honestly, if you're already taking a -8, I don't think there's enough upside to make a keeper transfer. For one more hit, probably not. Team looks great. Thank you very much, Chewy. Sent the team, could you give any recommendations? Let me just have a quick look. What is the oh, I found a team. Sanchez, Trent, Dalot, Gabriel. Midfield is pretty standard. I wouldn't go for Sanchez in goal. That's what I'd say. And probably that's the only real issue. I think the rest of the team looks alright. So keeper pairing is what I think about. Who should I drop? Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Rodgers? Or do I drop Solanke this week? You definitely don't drop Solanke. So it's between Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Rodgers. In which case I would say Rodgers down to the bench for this week. Your quick response makes my FPL decision easy. Thank you very much from Bhutan. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. On a wild card, take Raya out. Who instead? Right, so if you don't want Raya, you have a couple of options. Go for double Arsenal defense in Saliba and Gabriel. Go for double attack in Saka and Havertz. Or go without Raya and then just have only 2 Arsenal assets in Gabriel and Saka. So that's your real 3 main options, I'd say. Alright, so I think that's pretty much it. Let me just get back to my team. Excuse me. So this is where we're at. I honestly don't think I make a lot of changes. News-wise, team leaks-wise, if Rico Lewis starts, which I think we will get leaks closer to the deadline, I will be on the Discord with the members. So if Rico Lewis does start, I will have him in the starting 11. If he doesn't, then I have Ola Aina on the bench to start in place of him. In terms of players-wise, I don't think it changed. Like, even if Raya happens to be able to play, like say for example we get some crazy leak from somewhere, which I don't think we will, but if we do, that Raya starts, I still don't think I would change my team. Like, this is still what I would go with. So I'm happy with the plans that I have moving forward, the price points of the players that I'm able to get to, and the future routes that this team is going to get. So there we go. We're going to end the stream in a bit. Let's just see a couple of the last chats. Who would you recommend for goalkeeper, as I don't really trust Flecken? Fixtures wise, I mean, if you have the money, you could go for Pickford, but we know about Everton defense and they're not super good. I mean, people are going for Mikalenko now because of the decent enough Everton run coming up. But they're the one with the best fixtures. If not, I think it's Flecken. Like, in all honesty, like the fixtures are just there, you know. Matthew says Flecken, Aina, and Trent, or Raya, Konate, and Porro. Flecken, Aina, and Trent. Rodgers up against Ipswich. It's tricky between the two, yeah. I mean, that's also a decision I need to think about. Captaincy-wise, at least, I have it on Haaland. It's going to stay on Haaland. So it's just a question now, whether I start Lewis or Aina, depending on leaks. And then do I start Rodgers or... I mean, who would I bench, like, honestly? I think Rodgers on the bench for me. But yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at. Okay, so thank you all for tuning in. Appreciate it. Appreciate that today we have hit also an incredible milestone for the channel, which is 700, I think close to 700 viewers, concurrent viewers at one point. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for all the support, all the likes, all the comments, watching all the videos. I appreciate it. All the best for game week 6. Whichever way you go, your picks in the wildcard, I do hope it works out for you guys. And I will catch you guys in the game week 7 content. I will be recording a game week 7 wildcard draft right after this. Obviously after a couple of games have been played. But yeah, I'll be recording game week 7 wildcard draft. That will be out at the end of today's games. So keep a lookout for that one. If not, it's been a very fun stream. So thank you all, and I will see you guys for more game week 7 content coming very soon. Bye bye.